Detective Donut and the Wild Goose Chase by Bruce Whatley and Rosie Smith. I woke up with my head in my hands. It had been a long night. My last case had just gotten the better of me. Besides, it was my birthday and nobody had remembered. Worst of all, my partner had eaten the last donut. Then came a knock at the door. "Yeah?" I said. This strange bird walked through my door. "Donut?" she asked. "Yes, please," I said, "and a hot chocolate." "Donut," she said again. "I need your help." Then she told me she worked for Professor Drake, the famous archaeologist. "Professor Drake is missing," said the bird. "I need you to find him. He's got a statue that he needs me to take to the museum." Professor Drake and I were old friends. I first met him at the museum. That notorious thief Goose had stolen a priceless mummy, and the professor had helped me track down Goose and put him behind bars. Which reminded me, my mother owed me a birthday present. Anyway, the professor often traveled to far-off lands to search for ancient treasure. He usually told me before he left, though. Maybe this time he had forgotten. He had also forgotten to tell me he had an assistant. How could I say no? I set out to look for my old friend. On the way out, I picked up the mail. A couple of bills, a postcard, and a strange-looking package with a Maltese stamp. I figured the package was my birthday present from my mother. Funny, I didn't know she was on vacation. But right now, I had more important things to do than open my mail. I was on a case, and I knew just how to begin. I'd follow my nose. To Joe's Donuts. Hey, I was still out of donuts. Eating a donut or two always makes me think better. It was after my third donut that I had my first big break. Unfortunately, it was my big toe, and I seemed to have lost my birthday present. My mother usually knitted me a pair of socks for my birthday. I could always use a good pair of socks, but why would anyone else want my socks? I must have been daydreaming. One minute my package was gone, the next minute it was back again. I had to get my mind back on the job. In this line of work, if you aren't careful, you can end up with an egg in your face. It was time to head to the professor's house to check things out. I got a surprise when I got there. Someone had turned the place upside down. I guess they were looking for something really valuable, something the professor didn't want anyone to find. I realized the professor could be in real danger, and that's when the lights went out. By the time the lights came back on, someone had turned me upside down, and my birthday present was gone. Then I heard a noise coming from the alley outside. The thief was trying to make a break for it. I took off after him. What did this guy want with my birthday socks? As I ran down the alley, I started to get mad. Real mad. I was supposed to be looking for the professor, but I was chasing my own birthday present instead. My socks would be too big for this guy anyway. And this dark alley was enough to give you goosebumps. The thief got away, but I found my package in the trash. I guess my socks were too big for him after all. It had been a long day. I needed a donut, so I headed for Joe's. Turns out I wasn't the only one. The professor's assistant was right behind me, looking a little worse for wear. "Seen the professor?" I asked. "Over there," she yelled. "Where? Where?" I shouted as I looked over my shoulder. I couldn't see anyone. When I turned back around, I couldn't see my birthday present either. This just wasn't my day. Suddenly, there was a crash. Next thing I knew, the professor's assistant was flat as a pancake. Then, it hit me. The professor didn't have an assistant. It was the notorious Goose himself trying to make off with my socks. "I have been framed," shouted the Goose. "That's what they all say," I said. I had caught him red-handed. Meanwhile, my package was broken open on the floor, and there was no sign of my socks. Just some dusty statue. I couldn't figure out why the goose was trying to swipe my present, especially since it wasn't my socks. But I didn't have time to worry about that now. The professor was still missing. So I went back to my office to think things over. That's when I remembered my mail. One of the bills was for the phone. The postcard was from Professor Drake. It said he knew Goose was on the loose and was coming after him to steal the statue. I quickly deduced that the package wasn't from my mother after all. The professor had sent me the statue for safekeeping while he hid out from Goose. The postcard said the professor would come out of hiding after I had delivered the statue safely to the museum. The professor would be so pleased to hear how I single-handedly closed the case and kept the statue safe. And my mother had remembered my birthday after all. While I was out, she had dropped off my birthday socks. They were red and a perfect fit. She also had baked my favorite birthday cake. It had been another long day and another case was closed. Suddenly, the lights went out. The other bill was for the electricity.